It is Glen Big Baby Davis joining us here in Boston on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Glenn, how are you tonight, bud?
What's going on, man?
You all locked into the playoffs and watching the Celtics in the first round here?
Oh my God, hell yeah! I gotta watch, bro. I think this is the year. I've been watching all year. Porzingis has been a big lift for us, and hopefully Drew Holiday locks in and gives us that veteran leadership that we need.
So you mentioned Porzingis. What did you think at the time when the Celtics traded Marcus Smart and acquired Porzingis? Did you think they did Smart dirty, or did you feel like it was a true upgrade and really the best move for the team?
I really think what Marcus Smart held, right, what he had as far as just what he brought to the team, I think it got out of control, and we had to figure it out, and we had to make another move to get a guy that was more of a closer, right, and also can play defense. When you think about Drew Holiday, he can close games, he can score at a high level when we need him to, but also he brings defensive presence. And I think that's what we were missing with Marcus. He's a streaky player. We don't know if he's going to have a great game or, a also okay game. And I think bringing Drew and Porzingis kind of gave us that clutch, more guys to contribute in the clutch when we need it to help Jalen and Jason, make big buckets.
All right, Glenn, we'll get into the big event you got going on at Kowloon coming up in a little bit, but I just wanted to ask you some Celtics questions quickly. Well, what are your thoughts on the progression of Tatum and Brown, the duo? Obviously, last year they lose at home in a Game 7. They have bounced back. They're both going to get supermax contracts here, but are they the best duo in the NBA, and do you think this is the year that they finally get over the hump?
You know what? I think this is the year that they finally get over the hump, right? We think about all the trials and tribulations that they have, right? They had so much experience of playing in the playoffs, playing in the finals, and we know what we need. And I think it's time for one of them to be able to pull us over the hump. And I think if they can pull us over the hump, then it's a different ball game. Right? Because now we get those clutch buckets that Paul Pierce. You remember Paul Pierce used to make clutch buckets.
Yep.
Ray used to hit clutch buckets, right? There was moments in games where you can tell that the best player was out there on the floor. And those are the moments that we need to have in clutch, right? We can't go games with like Jason Tatum not scoring the ball or not playing well, right? He has to be able to play well, right? And find a way, and I think that's what happened. We all found a way, and that's how we won a championship.
Yeah, and Glenn, that's what I was going to ask you, man. Do you see any similarities from the championship teams that you played on to this team now? I know demeanor-wise, there's no KG in the mix, but do you see any similarities between the both teams?
I see guys like Jalen Brown and Tatum as like Ray and Paul type like scorers, right? One might not, we don't have the Ray 3-point, but these guys demand and control on the offensive side. They're a big part of what they do. And I think that's what we had also too, right? And then, with Porzingis, I think Porzingis and Al kind of complement each other. Right, you got the defensive-minded guy who can play, hit shots, Al, and you got Porzingis who could score. So, I think that is a mixture of like KG and Perk in a way, but with more weapons. You know what I mean? So, I think if they can lock up on the defensive side like they've been doing all year. But also when it matters, man, make the plays that count. And I think that's what Tatum and Jalen have to do. And if they don't, I feel like the Celtics got to break them up. You know what I mean?
Yep. Talking to Glen Big Baby Davis here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. He's going to be at the world-famous Kowloon on May 1st, one of my favorite restaurants. I know the menu, Glenn. Let me tell you, man. I've been there a few times. A couple more for you. Do you think there's a player in the league now that is like how you played? Like, obviously, it's more of a scoring league, and you really turned into a pretty good shooter, man. Like, you were Big Baby in the post, playing in a Final Four to really a nice little shot. Do you see any players in the league that remind you of yourself?
You know what? You talk about my position. It's, the power forward, right? What is that now, right? Is that a 3 guy who can play the 4? Is it I think that's what that position is now. So you don't really see a lot of guys like big build like me, right? There's that one kid in Utah, Keith Lawford, Lofton.
Yep.
Right? Big kid, plays played at Memphis. Now he played in the Philadelphia G League team. He's a big body, but he can just play, right? He can just he can play the game, at that size, but fast pace. There's not a lot of guys like me, right? So the game has changed, and every 10 years you're going to see the game change and morph to what championship basketball, what they think, or whoever won the championship in a way, it's going to morph, right? Spurs start winning the championship, the game changed. Draymond Green was he's not a power forward. He's more like like a weird power point, right? And then now you got guys shooting threes, right? Championship team shooting threes, and the game morph. And so guys like me are lost. So hopefully, the game come back and guys like me, find their place again,
Yep. I wanted to ask you about Doc Rivers. I know you had a very interesting career with him, 2 different stops. What are your thoughts on Doc when you look back at it? And, do the Bucks have a shot this year either?
I think Doc, my thought process on Doc is, he has to understand what type of coaching style today's game needs, because I don't think he resonates with the players as much as he thinks he does, because I feel like he's on a different time frame. The guy's one of the oldest coaches in the league now. You know what I mean? I don't know a coach older than him. And then also I just think, the situation he's in, it's a tough situation to go in there, take somebody's job that was a friend of yours and, try to make it look good when everybody's talking about you, Just hard to win a championship when you got that bad juju going around, So hopefully I think in the clutch, Doc's not going to make it happen. I don't think so. I think just what I know, what I've seen, what I've been around, I've seen a 3-1 lead turn into we lose. I've seen him lose game 7s. I've experienced those things. And I think, in order for him to get back to the promised land, he has to he has to change his way of thinking and culture that he's trying to build, because it's too old school.
Do you think that's what happened with the Clippers, with you and him?
With the Clippers, Doc was in a situation that was too big, right? He couldn't fit he couldn't fit the shoes. Right? Being the president and having to make decisions, but also being the coach and trying to figure out who's to play and how to play them. Right? You think about Spencer Hawes that year, right? He was the president. That was his first sign. One of the worst signs that he probably ever did. You know what I mean? Yep. With that team. You know what I mean? And when you think about it, he had to play Spencer. So a guy like me, he could put me on the bench because he know what I can do. And that's what he did. He put me on the bench the whole year and then played me in the playoffs.
All right. And I was going to say, everyone has that love-hate relationship with their coach, right? You love him, but you hate him.
Yeah. And so Doc is, he's just an old coach it's time to hang it up. That's what I think. It's time to hang it up. I hope we do play them in the playoffs, because I think he's going to let us win.
Glen Big Baby Davis joining us here on 98.5 The Sports. One last one. What do you think of Joe Mazzulla? What kind of guy, what kind of coach do you think he is, and is he the right guy to get the Celtics over the hump?
You know what? I'm all for Joe, right? I've been knowing Joe for a long time, watched him play at West Virginia. A hard-working guy that got an opportunity to do something big. And I think he's been doing a good job. I think this team was already primed and ready for this type of basketball. But he's been able to keep up and be able to push them and maximize the talent that he has there. And that's a special thing. So, I'm all for him. I like the guy. He's always been great to me and, inviting all the old guys to practice and, being a part of the program. He gives back to the past. I think he's a great guy, man. He's going to grow as a coach. And I think we're going to be able to see him grow as a coach because of what happened last year.